What's up, B-Units? This is Kobalt Steel with another Kobalt Digital episode. In the last episode, we tackled the Master System and Game Gear conversions of Sonic the Hedgehog, looking at the 3DS version specifically. Today, we're going to take a look at Sonic's old rival, Mario, in his first handheld adventure, Super Mario Land, on the Game Boy. Although, we're going to be looking at the 3DS emulation from the Virtual Console. Will Mario's first handheld adventure show Mario as the king of platformers, regardless of console, or will this adventure end up dark like the Game Boy's screen? Let's find out. Let the disposable batteries commence. Before we go in, we should have a little history segment on our production. Super Mario Land was developed by Nintendo in 1989 for the Nintendo Game Boy, intended to be a pack-in title for the system. However, this was swapped out for Tetris so that the system could appeal to a wider audience, as a Mario game would make the Game Boy look like a kid's system. The game was produced by the developer of the Game & Watch LCD series, Gunpei Yokoi, instead of the typical producer Shigeru Miyamoto, and it is the first game made without said person. Because of this, as well as the intent of shrinking the Mario elements onto a Game Boy screen, and with some difficulty programming, many elements found in Super Mario Land are very unusual, such as the UFO theme, exploding Koopas, and the vehicle levels. Despite these changes, Super Mario Land would wound up becoming a bestseller, selling over 18 million copies to positive reviews. But are those reviews justified? Let's find out. On to the review, let's start with the story. The story is that the evil alien Tatanga has arrived to the kingdom of Sarasaland with the intentions of taking it over, and to do so he has to mind control all of its citizens to do his evil doings. He also has kidnapped Princess Daisy to forcefully marry her. Mario finds out about this situation and travels to Sarasaland to try and stop this evil alien from doing this. He travels through the kingdoms of Birabuto, Muda, Easton, and confronts Tatanga in the Chai Kingdom. Pretty weird story for a Mario game. No Mushroom Kingdom has aliens, and the first appearance of Princess Daisy is in this game. However, different isn't bad. The story is pretty functional and is actually more elaborate than Mario 1 and 2's story. However, this stuff is only found in the manual, and aside from that, it's your damsel in distress story we all know from the Mario series. The aliens are a pretty nice twist if you ask me, but everything else is just a new coat of paint. But enough of that, let's talk about the gameplay. Super Mario Land sees players traversing across 4 worlds as Mario, as he runs right, fights enemies, and does other Mario things. Basically, the game plays out similar to that of the original Super Mario Bros. You walk right, you run right, you can't go left for some reason, and fight a boss at the end, where one of the methods is touching the axe, or in this case, pressing a button. Super Mario Land is very similar to the original game, but there are noticeable differences with the original NES game and this game. For one, the controls are a bit stiffer. Mario doesn't hold momentum very well, as he will stop much faster here. He will also fall down like a rock should you release the D-pad or circle pad in mid-air. This can be a bit disorienting at first, but after a while, you'll get used to these stiffer controls. It's not much of a game breaker. Another noticeable difference is the presence of these vehicle boss levels, known as the Marine Pop and Sky Pop respectively. Players navigate Mario in these auto-scrolling levels and shoot out enemies, blocks, and bosses in these vehicles, using torpedoes and the spherical things in the Sky Pop levels, whatever those are. These control pretty well and work for an auto-scrolling level. I wish the game had more of these levels because they're pretty fun. Other differences aside from these are pretty minor, down to just functions being different. A few examples include Koopas exploding instead of ricocheting off walls due to programming issues with ricocheting shells, as well as these fireballs being super balls that bounce at 45-degree angles. The super balls are pretty useful in this game, as many enemies are often found in out-of-reach areas and or could be flying, so players could use the super balls to take out distant enemies, granted if they're at the proper angle. Overall, Super Mario Land is basically Super Mario Bros. On the Game Boy, aside from different controls, the inclusion of vehicles, and some minor changed functions. Now let's talk about the content of the production. Super Mario Land features 4 worlds with 3 levels each. They all follow the standard Mario formula of the first 2 being standard levels and the final level being a boss fight. There are some differences, such as Worlds 2 and 4 having their final levels being the aforementioned pop levels, but other than that, it's standard Mario stuff. The levels are certainly fun and provide a decent level of variety with the world themes, primarily with many types of enemies that are fairly unique. The bosses are also pretty unique and cool, with my favorite actually being this Easter Island man at the end of the Eastern Kingdom. They provide a decent level of strategy and uniqueness, despite me being the Eastern boss pretty easily. Unfortunately, the game is probably a bit too short for its own good. It could be complete under half an hour. And there's also too few of certain concepts like the pop levels. And speaking of the pop levels, while they're fun, they seem to be a bit thrown in there when there's only 2 of them. A suggestion would have been to replace the standard boss levels with the pop levels. By that I mean all of the boss levels will be pop levels. Aside from that, we have the replacement Super Ball Flower as the game's Fire Flower equivalent, which is pretty cool and used well. And we have the Starman again, which lasts a bit longer than other games. I guess that's okay. I won't penalize the game for this, but it would have been cool to feature a 2-player function with player 2 being Luigi or something. The Game Boy did have a link cable after all. Overall, the game does lack content, but the content present is pretty good regardless. Let's do quality of productions now. The game basically looks like a watered down version of Super Mario Bros. Featuring very simplistic graphics. That may seem like a complaint, but it's not. The game's presentation is acceptable, and the way the graphics are put together makes the game look decent. But I have to say, there's just so much white space and the game areas look pretty empty and hollow. I also won't penalize the game for this, but Mario looks like a giant in this game compared to everything else. I guess it's just a result of the game being on a handheld, but it just looks a little weird. Regardless, the graphics are okay and they are fairly practical for a handheld. Music-wise, this game features a large variety of tunes and that's pretty cool, especially in comparison to games like Mario 1 and Mario 2. Some tunes are even atmospheric to the levels, like the Muda and Chai Kingdoms. The tunes, while not as super classic like the Super Mario Bros. Overall theme, are still pretty good regardless. The Chai Kingdom theme is probably my favorite of the bunch. Overall, the aesthetics may be basic, but they are well put together regardless. As launch title, the game doesn't look half bad. And the conclusion is, Super Mario Land may be a short game, but it's a game that is worthwhile regardless, and shows that content supersedes game length to some degree. The game introduces many strange concepts to the series that many might wish for their return, primarily the marine and sky pop levels, providing a good twist to the Mario formula. Despite all of this, the game's length makes this pretty strange to have as a separate title. Although Tetris was the smarter pack-in title, the game's length suits a pack-in title or a built-in title rather than a standalone launch title. The game probably should have been longer if it was going to be a standalone launch title, perhaps by 2 worlds, but this does not make the game any less worth the money. However, since we're in the days of Virtual Console, hoping that the Switch includes it, this game is around $4, and for that price, plus the automatically included save feature, it is certainly worth the download. Download Super Mario Land while you have the chance. Well, that is all for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more Kobalt Steel. Until next time, see you all later.